Hi everyone, welcome to We Learn Legal. So this is a complete playlist for legal reasoning. I am Sheva and I am the faculty for legal reasoning at We Learn Legal. In this playlist, you will get all the important topics covered that are there for the CLAT exam in the subject of legal reasoning. Watch this carefully and you can make your notes if you want to. So it is but obvious that if you watch this video, there can be doubts that must come to your mind. If there is anything that you want to ask about the topic, about the questions that can come from this topic, then there is a WhatsApp group of We Learn Legal CLAT Prep. The link you can find in the description box below. I myself personally stay active in this group and take queries of hundreds of students. So if you also think that you want to ask any question, do remember that you can join the group and be a part of We Learn Legal. So you can start watching this video and make sure if you want to watch more videos in this playlist, you will find the link right below this video. And after you are done with this, I'm quite assured that आपको किसी और चीज़ को cover करने की such need नहीं पड़ेगी. And I'll try to clear all your doubts and all the subjects and topics regarding your legal reasoning in a very comprehensive manner. So you can start watching now.
Hello everyone. So in today's class, we are going to cover topic number 1 of the Law of Torts. So as you can see, this is the Law of Torts. Now I'm pretty sure that many of you might not have heard of the word torts as to what is it and what all is it into. So here I'll tell you that what actually do we mean by torts and what are the essentials for making a tort. So before we begin, we need to understand that what exactly is the meaning of tort. Basically, tort has been derived from a Latin word which is called as tortum. And in Latin, tortum means something that is wrong or an injury. Now, this injury over here is mostly connotated or denoted as a legal injury. We will read in the upcoming chapters also when we talk about injury in the Law of Torts. So basically, this is a breach of duty which amounts to civil wrong. When I talk about breach of duty, it means that this causes any violation or this duty that we were talking about has not been fulfilled. So something that has caused any kind of obstruction in the fulfillment of any duty will be considered as a breach of duty. For example, if it is my duty to be a good citizen and so that I make sure that nobody else should face any problem because of any activities of mine. So if at all I do any act which causes a problem to you, for example, I am in breach of duty and this will amount to a civil wrong. Here, one thing that we need to note and understand is that tort, basically that we're talking about the tortum, is kind of a civil wrong, which means all those wrongdoings which are civil in nature, not so severe, and they do not involve any criminal element. Giving an example, murder that is considered under Indian Penal Code. Of course, it is now, we know that it is changed and it is a new one has been added, but yes, so this murder is criminal in nature. But let me give you an example. If somebody does any kind of negligence, let's say that there was some construction work going outside your home, and because of that you dug a hole on the road, but you forgot to get it piled up again or get it filled up again, and somebody fell into that hole. Now this is an actual case of negligence, so this is civil in nature. So यहाँ पे हमें ये चीज समझनी होगी बच्चों कि जो टॉर्ट होता है वो सिविल नेचर का होता है, और जो क्रिमिनल लॉ होता है या फिर जो इंडियन पिनल कोड में या अदरवाइज जो ऑफेंसेस मेंशन्ड है वो क्रिमिनल नेचर के होते हैं। और इसीलिए मोस्टली जब हम टॉर्ट की बात करते हैं तो आमतौर पे कॉम्पनसेशन से भी काम चलाया जा सकता है। So instead of giving somebody or sentencing somebody of any jail term or such punishments for that matter, monetary compensations or other types of compensations are only provided mostly. Now here is another term which is called as the tortious liability. So generally understanding liability is kind of an answerability or a responsibility. So if I say that I did something wrong to anyone, now for sure law will make me answerable for that person, as we were taking the example of the hole that I dug on the road. So if somebody falls into it, I will be liable for it. I will be responsible for it. And this basically is what we understand with the term liability. Now, if we say tortious liability, it means the liability that has arisen on me because I committed that XYZ tort. Now, there are various different kinds of torts for that matter, as in civil wrongs. There is nuisance, there is negligence, defamation. Defamation is also a criminal wrong, but it is also a kind of a civil wrong. So there are so many examples of torts. So if I commit a tort and now I am held responsible for paying a compensation or being answerable for that particular tort, then this kind of responsibility on me will be considered as my tortious liability. All right. So here the second term which is important for us to understand is a tortfeasor. Now, a tortfeasor will be simply a person who commits the tort. So let's say in this case, if I was the one who committed a tort, so I will be a tortfeasor. So it will be a person who commits a tort. All right. And if it is more than one, so it's more than one. So then this person would be, basically this group will called as the joint tortfeasor. So simple as that. All right. So here these terms are very important for us to understand that by tort we mean, firstly, we mean it is a civil nature wrong. Secondly, we must understand that the liability, the responsibility that comes on to us will be tortious liability. Secondly, the person who commits the tort is called as a tortfeasor. And next and the last over here is that if it is more than one people, like two or more, then it will be called as joint tortfeasor. Now till here, we have generally understood that what is the meaning of tort. Let's understand that what was the objective of having this entire law as law of torts. So firstly, we need to determine the rights. By that I mean that if there are many citizens living in a place, so we need to make sure that we have given them some rights. So for the determination of rights to various parties in a dispute, let's say that there was a dispute between A and B. So what are the rights given to A and what are the rights given to B? If at all B does something wrong to A, then B can become a tortfeasor, and thus we will be able to restore the rights at the hands of party A, and that can be done with the help of law of torts. Right. Secondly, to prevent the continuation or repetition of harm. So, as I was saying, like in the example, if I dig a hole and if I am in the, I have committed the tort of negligence, then I should stop doing that so that I do not continue or repeat the harm to any other person in the society. Thirdly, to protect certain rights of every individual, and of course, fourthly, to restore one's property. So it can be in the case of, let's say, trespass. You must have seen in various places that trespassers shall be prosecuted. ऐसा एक board लगा रहता है कई सारी private properties के ऊपर, right? So a person who enters somebody else's private property without any permission or license, that person is called as a trespasser, and this act is called the act of a trespass. Right. So if somebody goes into your property and tries to, let's say, capture your property or anything like for that matter, so we can also restore our own property with the help of the law of torts. Right. Now when we talk about the next, we talk about the essentials of a tort. तो देखो बच्चों, यहाँ पे जब हम बात करते हैं कि टॉर्ट एक सिविल रॉन्ग है, सो इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि कोई भी रॉन्ग जो दुनिया में हो रहा होगा वो टॉर्ट ही होगा. So next, let's understand about the essentials of a tort. So देखो, जब हम कहते हैं कि टॉर्ट एक काइंड ऑफ सिविल रॉन्ग है ना, लेकिन और हमने ये भी कहा है कि वो क्रिमिनल रॉन्ग से अलग है. बट इसका मतलब ये नहीं होगा कि कोई भी एक्ट जो क्रिमिनल नहीं है वो डायरेक्टली टॉर्ट की कैटेगरी में फॉल कर जाएगा. नो, there have to be some essentials, some requisites that have to be, we have to make sure कि अगर वो फुलफिल होते हैं तभी हम उस पर्टिकुलर एक्ट को एक टॉर्ट के अंडर कंसिडर करेंगे. So which is that first one? First is a wrongful act or omission. तो इसका मतलब अगर आप कुछ गलत करते हो या फिर आपको कुछ करना था सही, it was your duty, और आप वो नहीं करते हो. So if there is any wrongful act or omission, first condition is this, then you might be, in the situation to commit a tort. Secondly, this duty should have been imposed by law. Let's take an example that it was my duty to make sure that जब मैंने वो गड्ढा खोदा था तो उसके आसपास मैं ऐसे साइंस लगा दूं जिससे कि लोगों को पता चले कि आगे कंस्ट्रक्शन का काम चल रहा है. It was my legal duty. Let's say I was the contractor who was, given this duty by the government, but I did not fulfill it and I was an omission. मैंने omit कर दिया अपनी एक lawful duty को. So second situation would be that this duty should be imposed by law. Thirdly, this act must give rise to legal or actual damage. Now, when we talk about the legal or actual damage, we will consider about it in the next classes when I'll give you a better idea about this also. Legal damage simply is that when our right has been abridged. That means हमारा right छीन लिया गया है. और एक्चुअल डैमेज का मतलब होगा, लेट्स से, कि उस गड्ढे में वाकई में मेरी गाड़ी गिर जाए और मेरी गाड़ी का जो लॉस हुआ, ठीक है, सो दैट विल बी समथिंग दैट इज अ मॉनिटरी डैमेज, राइट, दैट इज एन एक्चुअल डैमेज. एंड फोर्थली, it should give rise to a legal remedy, ठीक है, in the form of an action for damages, which means अगर ये तीनों चीजें हो गई हैं, so then I can go to the courts and let's say ask for some compensation. Now this compensation in this relation will be my legal remedy. So अगर इस तरह का कुछ भी होता है और मैं लॉ से या कोर्ट से अपने लिए कोई रेमेडी मांग सकती हूँ, then it will become all the essentials of the tort. So you have to remember that firstly, what we need to have is we need to have a wrongful act. Secondly, this duty should be imposed by law. Thirdly, it should be giving, or it should have caused some problem either to our legal rights or it should have caused some kind of damage to us. And fourthly, it should give rise to some kind of legal remedy, right? So this is important for us to note. Now, let's just do them in a little more detail. When we talk about the essentials of tort, the first one was a wrongful act or omission. So, firstly, it says that the act may be either morally wrong or legally wrong or both. All right. So, yape, we will do about this in greater details in the classes also. Basically, it is not so that it should be only legally wrong. It can be morally wrong, like ethically wrong also. Like, for example, you misbehave with somebody who's a senior citizen. All right. Now, it was not to the extent to make it a legal wrong, but on the moral grounds, it was wrong, right? Secondly, legal wrongful act affects one's legal rights. So, of course, whatever you're doing, it should make a change or it should affect somebody else's legal right. Thirdly, it must be recognized by law, as we were discussing previously also. And fourthly, it must be in violation of the law to be a legal wrongful act. So, whichever laws are functional in our society, if it is in violation of those laws, then it will be considered to be as a wrongful act or omission. Next, when we talk about duty being imposed by law, it says that the duty that is legally enforceable in the court of law. As I was giving an example, like let's say that I was a contractor who was legally given this job of placing the signs, the danger signs, okay, but I did not do it. So it is something that is enforceable in the court of law, which means if I did not fulfill it, then somebody, let's say A, suffered some loss because of this act of mine or this omission of mine. So he can go to the court and ask for a remedy. So this is something that will be considered as the duty imposed by law. And fundamental duties have a legal effect by means of acts of the parliament. This, do not worry, we will be covering in the chapter of constitution when we will be doing the fundamental duties. Okay, so I'll tell you about that. Now, the third one, when we were talking about the legal or actual damage. So see, what happens is that in the law of torts, you will hear these two terms very, very frequently. पहला है damage और एक है damages. राइट सो इसमें क्या होता है कि जो डैमेज होता है यहाँ पे कहीं पे भी जब भी आपको डैमेज लिखा हुआ दिखेगा तो वो एक्चुअल लॉस या इंजरी की बात कर रहा है जैसे मैंने आपको एग्जांपल दिया एक रोड में अगर मैंने गड्ढा खोदा हुआ था और एक गाड़ी किसी की आकर उसमें गिर गई राइट सो डेफिनेटली उस गाड़ी को कुछ ना कुछ डैमेज होगा उसमें नुकसान हुआ लेट्स से 20,000 का नुकसान हो गया सो दिस इज व्हाट वी कॉल एज द डैमेज यानी कि एक एक्चुअल डैमेज या लॉस लेकिन जब भी लॉ ऑफ टॉर्ट्स में या फिर इस तरह के किसी भी लीगल लैंग्वेज में आप डैमेजेस विच मींस डैमेज तो लिखा हुआ है बट उसके साथ में एक एस अलग से लगा हुआ है तो जब भी आप इस डैमेजेस के बारे में पढ़ेंगे इसका मतलब होगा कि वन पार्टी लेट्स से दिस पार्टी ए who suffered this actual damage is now looking forward to some kind of compensation from me who actually had dug this hole right so here damages means the compensation that you are seeking out of the damage that you had suffered so I hope यहाँ पे clarity आपको मिल रही है तो डैमेज का वही मतलब होता है जो जनरल भाषा में हमारा मतलब होता है बट डैमेजेस का मतलब होता है कॉम्पनसेशन अब मैं सभी बच्चों को हमेशा कहती हूँ कि इसके बीच के कंफ्यूजन को अवॉइड करने के लिए व्हाट यू कैन डू just think about damage and this extra s and for this extra s you can make it actually a dollar sign and dollar is definitely has got a lot to do with money and compensation right so just think about it कि क्योंकि damage में एक extra dollar लगा हुआ है it means that we're asking for money and damage में कोई s या dollar नहीं है so it is the actual damage now when we talk about the legal or actual damage there are two things that are to be considered over here पहला कॉन्सेप्ट होता है इंजूरियस साइने डैमनो और दूसरा कॉन्सेप्ट होता है डैमनम साइने इंजूरिया आपको नाम से डरना नहीं है ठीक है ये दिखने में सुनने में काफी टफ लगते हैं बट ये होते नहीं है वी आर गोइंग टू ब्रेक एंड स्टडी सो साइने जो होता है ना बच्चों साइने का मीनिंग होता है विदाउट ओके ऑलवेज रिमेंबर मैंने आपको पहले भी बोला था जिस लॉ ऑफ टॉर्ट्स में जैसा जब हम इंजुरी की बात करते हैं तो हम बात करते हैं आपके लीगल इंजुरी की लीगल इंजुरी का मतलब होता है जहां पे आपका राइट छीना गया हो ठीक है या फिर आपका राइट अब्रिज हुआ हो एंड डैमनो जो होता है वो है एग्जैक्टली ये वाला डैमेज ठीक है सो यहाँ पे भी सेम है ये डैमनो जो है वो ये वाला डैमेज है और इंजुरिया जो है वो हमारी एक लीगल इंजुरी है राइट सो जस्ट ब्रेक इट डाउन एंड नाउ ट्राई स्पीकिंग इट Injuria sign and damno can also be said as a legal injury, sine means without, so legal injury without damage. So इसका एक एग्जांपल मैं आपको देती हूँ कि जहां पे आपका राइट तो ब्रिज होता है लेकिन आपको कोई मॉनेटरी डैमेज नहीं होता. लेट्स से कि देयर वाज एन इंपॉर्टेंट पर्सन, दिस इज एन एक्चुअल केस आल्सो, सो दिस वाज एन इंपॉर्टेंट पर्सन, ही वाज एक एमएलए थे ये, ठीक है. नाउ ही हैड टू गो एंड कास्ट हिज वोट to show his support for his party, right? But on the way, when he was going on the way, he was held by the police and he was not allowed to go and cast his vote. Now in this situation, this person had the right to cast the vote, right? But he could not. So इनका legal right जो था वो abridge हुआ है, yes for sure. But क्या इनको कोई damage, monetary damage, इनकी body को, इनकी गाड़ी को, किसी भी चीज को, property को कोई damage हुआ? No. So this is a case of injuria sine damno, where one person suffered legal injury, which means his right was taken away, but he did not suffer any actual damage. On the contrary, just take an example of damnum sine injuria. The most famous case for this is कि एक बार एक स्कूल होता है. So there was a school, please pardon me for the drawing, okay? So this was school number 8. Right? So it was doing very good and there was no competition aspas and this school was getting all the admissions of the nearby students, right? Now, another school that came in competition opened one more school, school B, just opposite to school number A. All right? Now what happened that here he was also using his fundamental rights and other rights, to have education system and, have a school and private property and stuff. He was also not violating any right. But because school B has now opened, the earnings of school number A definitely dropped down because many students started enrolling in school B, right? So ऐसे situation में देखो कि क्या इनका कोई legal right hamper हुआ है? नहीं, क्योंकि दोनों ही दोनों legally अपने rights को exercise कर रहे हैं. But legal right hamper होने के बिना भी school A को damage face करना पड़ा. So this is a situation where one person faces damages without any legal injury. Okay, so you can read it from here also. Infringement of legal right without substantial loss, and this is loss without infringement of legal right. Okay, so this is how you can understand this. So this was all for this class, bacho, and I hope that you understood that what is the meaning and what are the essentials of a tort. So in the upcoming classes and the recorded lectures, you will be able to understand that what exactly are the other important things for the law of torts. Thank you.
So I hope that you liked the video and आपके जो भी concepts थे वो clear हो गए हैं. If you have any doubts regarding this topic, then you can join me in the WhatsApp group. The link is there in the description box below. मैं खुद personally सारे doubts को clear करती हूँ, so you can get in touch with me through this WhatsApp group. To watch another video of the same series, you can just click on the end card or simply you can find it right below this video. Good luck, aspirants.